in real time, it's early March 2021, and we're anchored here in Simpson Bay Lagoon in Dutch St. Martin. And boy, is it beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous here. And the island's open. The island's open, which is great. It's good to see bars and restaurants open, businesses doing a brisk business. A lot of the super yachts are here, and they always bring a lot of money to an economy, local economy. We left Antigua last week because they were just screwing everything up, and we just couldn't stand being there anymore. The restaurants and would have their staff scheduled and their food ordered and all their reservations in place, and the government would just say, "We're closing everything down. 6 o'clock. Everybody has to be home." And they were just, and this just happened repeatedly. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. They have almost no cases. I think they have 7 deaths in total since the whole thing started. 100,000 people on the island. It's just infinitesimal numbers, totally unjustified and unwarranted. So we just weren't going to put up with it anymore. We just left. Said we're just going to go. We'll go back. We love the island, but we love the people. But the government just is being mean-spirited towards the population. That's what we came to believe. So here we are in St. Martin, and we're very happy that we made the trip over. As for this episode, in Sailing Yacht Talisman YouTube channel time, it's late October in 2020, and we came back from hurricane season from being hauled to launch the boat. And this episode is really going to be about the work that's involved in getting a boat ready to go. It is not an easy task, and we had a lot of stuff to do. It's not a how-to video per se, but if you have any kind of a question about anything, feel free to ask in the comments, and I'll do my best. But in the meantime, here we go. What you doing, Len?
I'm starting a very long project. I don't even have good glasses for it. Gotta tear all the mattress covers apart so we can use them as patterns to remake them with our new fabric.
Sailrite Sunbrella product we're using for the new mattress covers.
And Kevin thinks I'm going to pull every seam out of all of these.
Well, we have 3 weeks ahead of us.
You better get to work.
I'm working with this incredible baby lock computerized sewing machine that my sister-in-law has, and it's really, really cool. It hasn't missed a beat yet, and we've been working that up for a couple of days. It does kind of unravel easily, but otherwise it's absolutely beautiful to the eye. And the real nice thing about Sunbrella as a product is that all through their lines, they are very resistant to fading in the sun. The products are good, and really kind of the standard of the industry. Appear to have leaked or had anything bad happen to it. At least not so far. We haven't really inspected the whole thing yet, but opened it up to get some air through it. What do we have here?
Our beautiful new cushion covers that Kevin made.
We did bake them. And they are pretty exactly what we wanted them to be.
Pretty badass.
I think the other ones had stretched out a tad, and I think these will stretch a little too as this foam gets in there. But they're made to the exact size
and they're beautiful.
Of the other ones. We used the original pieces of fabric as patterns. So yeah, and then the improvement to this was I made a little cover for it so that we can clean that if we need to, because this one takes a lot of with people kneeling on it and everything, it tends to get a little dirty. And the other one was a mess. It was really bad. So I Sikaflexed this piece of marine plywood up on there so that no water could get in the off season, even if a hurricane came, it was going to be pretty tough for the wind to get a grip on that and pull it off. So we're pretty happy there. The reason these nuts look all white is because they've got sealant on them. That's one of the things Oyster did on the boats, is this, like every fastener that goes through the deck it's got Sikaflex on it or some other sort of sealant so that water can't drip through. The other thing that we did was I had this tank tender gauge sent back to Hart Systems, who makes them. They still make these. They're still standard on a lot of the Oysters. It's an analog gauge and it just works. It's a great system. You can try to transfer over to digital, but these work pretty well. The problem I had was that the valves had gone bad and I was getting water kicking back through the little tube and into the nav station, which was not good. So sent it back to them and they replaced all the hosing and all the valves and got it basically back up to factory specs. I gotta say, getting these mattresses inside the covers is no small task. It's a really, really tight fit, but this is the last one. Getting the corners in, use the key, and then just kind of folding it in. Trying not to break the zippers and pull them apart at the ends. And there we go. Okay, so the tank tender's back installed. That's good. That's I don't have the tubes hooked up to it yet because I need to push some air into them with a syringe and make sure there's no fluids in the tubing itself. If you have that, the gauge won't work. You have to start with the tube completely clear, and then it measures how high the liquid rises inside of it. And that's how it tells how full the tank is. So here's what we're using. Using the Seahawk Islands 44 Plus. They make it dark blue, which is kind of, but it's really kind of more of a navy from the way things look. So this is what we have, but previously we had a lighter blue on there, as you can see here. So we're gonna kind of go with the lighter color. Probably easier to see under the water anyway. Well, that's the best I can do one-handed for the camera, but yeah, they're just cleaning everything up. Going to put a new application of prop speed or prop glide. I'm not sure which. We'll move forward with that in another couple of days. So Wendy's applying our bottom coat over here, and now we did an inspection yesterday. These are the sintered keel coolers for our refrigeration system. And then this sink here is going to have to be replaced. And I'm probably just going to replace this as well, just because I have another. Wendy's upset because the roller broke in about 5 minutes and now it spins, so she can't get it balanced right. We'll go to another roller.
Covered in paint.
Yeah, she's got paint all over her hands too, so.
Gloves suck.
Yeah, the gloves suck. All around the yard there's boats that are in various states of disrepair, and here they've rebuilt this rudder. This was all mangled at the bottom, and the issue that I would have is that this rudder stock is bent. I can almost guarantee it. It's not supposed to have this much clearance up in here, and these things are very very susceptible to rudder damage. All the production boats are. The high aspect spade rudder is fragile. It's not nearly as beefy as this skeg hung rudder we have, but by the same token, this works better when you're going in reverse, and that's one of the reasons why people use it. And even Oyster has gone to a kind of a twin rudder system more recently, albeit with a much bigger rudder stock and stainless steel. Some of these rudder stocks are made of composite materials, either solid fiberglass or carbon fiber, and with those you really don't know when they're going to break. They just kind of all of a sudden do. And if you lose your rudder at sea, you are screwed. If you don't have a self-steering system of some sort that has its own rudder, you're going to be in trouble. So if I were the owners of this boat, I would absolutely pull this rudder while they can and replace it. Just straight up, just buy a new one. I think Wendy did a pretty good job of rolling this paint on. I mean, it's not done yet. We went through a gallon though, doing about, I'd say half the keel. I suspect the first coat is the one that takes the most paint, and subsequent coats probably have a little, go a little further. Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hello. That's your. Yeah, this is ours. Yeah.
Looks like we're missing a cleat here.
Okay. Well, there's 3 on this side. I think there's. Oh, yeah, there is a hole.
Here's our boom. And looks pretty good from here. I really don't know. The rest of it's all kind of wrapped up. But Sunny Kitsune here on the island did the work, and from the parts I can see, I mean, it looks glossy and beautiful, and that's kind of what we're shooting for. We have our spinnaker pole here and our vang, which are all kind of wrapped up for protection, so I don't want to try to unwrap them until the time comes. Sonny painted our mast, and he's working right now on this Bavaria swim platform, which failed and had to fire. The backing plates were not sufficient for the weight of this, and he's done a wonderful job of glassing this in, and when it's done you won't be able to tell. It'll look like a car hood. It'll be all nice and smooth and everything else, and that's the expected level of quality. He's rebuilt a bunch of metal. He showed pictures on his phone of the struts that go inside and the backing plates that are now made of stainless instead of just fiberglass, and so this will be an actual real fix for something that's maybe a little bit lightly engineered. In all honesty, these things take a beating. What we're doing now, this is kind of pre-prep for launching the boat, and what we're doing is we're just going around and moving all the seacocks into the open and closed position a bunch of times, and then Wendy's greasing the ball valve from underneath with marine grease to kind of help it out, and we just want to make sure that these all function. Still sweating in the Caribbean heat, but I just wanted to make note of the fact that there are on this boat 19 through holes. A lot of the more modern boats use manifolds, so we'll have one seacock and a whole bunch of, then a pipe with a bunch of feeder tubes coming off of it. That way they have less actual penetrations through the hull. But our boat's not that way. There's a seacock for everything, which is nice. You can shut everything off if you need, but getting to them sometimes is tough. So what's going on here is this line cutter, these white bearings in here need to be replaced periodically. I've tried to get these nuts off with a regular hex driver set, but it's not, they didn't come. So I'm going to give it a little help with this and see if that works. I don't want to take the fastener all the way out. I just want to loosen it. There it goes. These are the bearings, the old bearings that were inside, and you can see they're broken in half, and this little flange here was all that was really holding them in. Okay, so here we are. I got this nice little piece on here. These 2 rings inside needed to be replaced, and once you take the collars off, I didn't realize the collar went all the way through. You can kind of see it in the reflection of the light, but I don't have anything tightened up just yet. I'm gonna get the stripper holder here installed the rest of the way with the rest of the fasteners, and it should be good. So what you doing over here?
I'm trying to figure out if inflatable boat cleaner cleans fenders or destroys them.
What's the answer so far?
Well, it seems to be cleaning it, but it's also making it orange, which I'm not really sure whether that's good or not.
All right, I'll check back.
Okay.
Well, here's Talisman with their bottom paint on. In about 20 minutes or so, they're going to come move the boat out of here so that we can get ourselves some space to work. I got to buff this hull, and it's a mess, and there's no way to get in between the two boats, so they agreed to move it on their dime. They're not going to charge me. I'm toying with the idea still of replacing this zinc, but I'm going to paint the prop with prop speed first, or prop glide I think we're using this year. Let's see how that works. Got a new main anode zinc. I love it when you see stuff like this. You know, you've got the jack stand sitting right on a grate that's totally not built to support the weight of a boat on top of it. Just those types of things you see around that drive you crazy. Here you've got an electrical cord that's just, you know, out here with wire nuts on it. And it's the one we're going to use for buffing the boat, but it's what they gave us, so just totally not OSHA approved. Here's their electrical room. It's totally open to anybody who feels like electrocuting themselves. Just get it done half-assed. Just so close. Oh man.
Let's see, now that the bottom paint's almost done, Kevin's decided to buff the hull.
These clamshells look like this. They're just all rusted out and the plating's coming off. They're bronze with heavy chrome on them, and they're just rusting, leaving the screen itself is rusting. And that just leaves streaks down the side of the boat. So I got new ones, but they're not easy to swap out. What I've done here is I've ground off this angle piece from the old elbow. Okay, so I got this elbow in there, and now I just have to throw some Sikaflex around the inside of that locking ring and then tighten it up, and everything ought to be good. So I had to cut this off with an angle grinder as well, and here's my new elbow. So the one's got the bronze metal fitting still stuck in it, and it's just easier to buy a new one. So now I have to go out and twist it, and hopefully Wendy can hold this in place. Got this kind of, it's all Sikaflexed along the base of the ring and tightened up, and we've got our anti-siphon loop above it, which is screwed in place just so it won't go anywhere. And I think we're good. This will be it. It looks good outside, I think. Here's what the old ones look like. And those screens were just rusting, and then they were dripping rust down the side of the hull, and there was just no stopping it. You clean it off, and then the next week later, you can see this cut here in the bronze and the threads. I had to just cut the ring off. The ring was Sikaflexed on there and probably just didn't want to come off. Wendy couldn't hold the other side, so I went all like primitive on it. And here, this was in there so good I couldn't get it out. And here's the new clamshell fitting up there. It still needs to be, this side of the boat hasn't been buffed yet, polished and waxed, so I'll get some oxalic acid on those rust stains and get those out. Talisman's starting to look a little bit better. like she's almost ready for the water. Applied a coat of the Prop Glide, a little bit less expensive than the Prop Speed that we used last year product, but looks about the same. Yellow etching solution, and then a kind of a rubberized silicone surface. So, you know, if you apply it properly, if you do go through all the steps, they recommend, everything comes out pretty good.
Here's a small project I'm working on. The sink's gotten pretty nasty over the summer, so I'm going to try cleaning it up with some metal polish, try to get the rust stains out and see how it comes out. So the inside of the boat is still a total mess, but I'm making progress on polishing up the metal around here. Wanted to show you how the sink came out. It was pretty badly rusted and corroded from some chemicals that got in there while we were in storage, and after 2 coats of metal restorer and 2 waxes, metal waxes, it's looking pretty good. Still got some pitting though. I don't think that's coming out. I also got the oven cleaned up. It was really nasty looking and marked up, but I was able to get that cleaned up, and then the refrigerator, which stays pretty well polished. So we're getting there. I also got our metal cooking grill cleaned up. That'll get nasty again quickly, but at least it's ready to go now.
So here's Dingy Ed. He's our dinghy. Everybody names their dinghy, and we call ours Dingy Ed because Dingy has ED. It tends to lose air. So, and that's the situation now. We've patched some holes, but Wendy blew him up today with the pump, and he's holding air pretty good. But by tomorrow morning, it'll be pretty obvious that there's a leak someplace. So we're gonna water inside the hull. There's 2 halves to this hull. There's a upper half and a lower half, and they're sandwiched together with a space in between. And so in the back transom, you can see that there's two relief holes. There's this one up on the top, and then with a bung, and then one in the bottom. And the one in the bottom, if this thing fills up, it holds a tremendous amount of water, like a fish tank's full of water. And once that happens, it becomes very difficult to plane. The dinghy just doesn't want to get up on plane because it's so heavy. So we're trying to find a way to keep the water from getting in there. We don't quite know where it's coming in from. So earlier, I pulled this tow ring out and sikaflexed the connection and made sure that no water can get in there. We think that's probably the most likely place where it's been coming in. And I tightened up the screws, the nuts that hold it in place and everything. So that should be good. And then we're also doing the same thing. We're putting Sikaflex on the lifting eyes, the lifting rings, and the backing plates that go with them, just to try to make sure nothing gets inside the hull. You know, this is the kind of maintenance that you do if you're a cruising couple. It's an awful lot of physical labor to do this. I mean, don't feel sorry for us. We love it, and it's great life, but there is definitely work involved. And if you had an 80-foot boat or something and you had a professional skipper and crew, these items would get taken care of behind the scenes, because those guys don't just get paid for skippering and crewing. They get paid basically to be at work on the boat, and so they do maintenance tasks as part of their job responsibilities. But we don't have anybody like that around except for us.
Our dinghy spent a lot of time in the water this season, and we did not have access to pull it out and clean it, so there's a ton of growth on the bottom. Also, it's very discolored, and it's just very grimy. We've also got some slow leaks again, so we've got to diagnose those. Still here at North Sound. Yesterday we had some really torrential rain, so we worked on the dinghy and a few other projects we could do indoors, but today we're back to buffing the boat. Now here's the outcome of the work I did yesterday, and I have to say I am just thrilled. Talisman tender, also known as Dingy Ed, is actually looking almost white again. The bottom is clean. Kevin's gonna come over and buff it later after he gets the rest of the other boat done. Clearly we have some repair work to do on it, but we found two holes. One here, this patch on the top and the bottom is leaking out. So we're gonna put a bigger patch here. And then this hole over here is leaking air.
We have so much to do, and it's all outdoors. And I can't even walk and get tools out of the car or take tools to the car because it's just gonna ruin them. It's just deluge. We've been this way for 3-4 days, and it won't. The system won't move. It's just sitting over top of us. Doing a lot of buffing on the boat, trying to get the oxidation off the fiberglass sides, and I thought I'd just do a quick rundown of what I've been doing. I've basically been using this DeWalt 7 to 9 inch buffer, and I've been using basically 3 pads and three types of cutting compounds and wax. So what I've been doing is I've been starting with this hexagonal Hex Logic cutting pad with the number 3 medium on it. It's a medium cutting compound, and then moving to the 3M light with this pad, which is on a different backer. And then this is my polish pad, and it's velcroed onto here, so I can swap these two back and forth. It's not ideal. I wish I had 3 pads and I had it all set up exactly right, but this is what I had in it. I've discovered really that adding this 3rd medium, start using all 3, because I started off just doing the light and the wax, and my work was might not show, but it's a little bit of cloudiness in the surface, which I'm gonna have to deal with because I just don't have time. But where in the back where we had a lot of streaking, I used the number 3 medium and as my first cut. And the polish back here is spectacular and really good, and so I'm going to continue doing that the rest of the way because it's no big deal to do one more pass with it, you know, when you're doing this. So anyway, it's a lot of physical labor, and I really, you know, I have props for the guys who do this professionally, although I would never want it as a real job. Poor Talisman getting
in the water.
Launched.